everybody. I'm Tyler Edlin. I'm back with Adam Duss.
Howdy. Just nice. Good start. Good start.
It slipped off my tongue.
Whatever. Nobody cares,
This is
Adam.
the
Nobody.
Brush Sauce Critique Challenge. This is, I forget the number. That's irrelevant. But the theme is Master of Ceremonies. I've got a couple YouTube questions asking, can anybody join? Yes, you just have to go find your way to the Brush Sauce community group and just ask. Anybody will let you know. They reformatted the Google group structure, so I have to figure out how I'm going to post the event info again, but I'm working on making that easier for everybody to see. So with that out of the way, we'll just go from top to down, left to right, and
Sure.
we'll go through these. I'm just setting up the stopwatch so we give everybody a fair shot.
All right.
So yeah, Master of Ceremonies, here we go. Knite. Oh, this is pretty interesting.
Yeah. And a very interesting take on the subject as well.
I like your use of the background. Like, really nice mood and colors and good lost and found edges.
Mm-hmm.
A few photo references. Okay.
All right.
10 different...
What critiques could you offer?
It just... I think a lot of... And this... I'll say this right now beforehand, before everybody's... I noticed in the comments when you guys posted them, a lot of you had said, well, I ran out of time, or I wish I added more detail.
Right.
Because I think that's going to be saying the same for a lot of work this week. A lot of the compositions look very nice, but from what I've seen so far, a lot of them need that polish. And that
Right.
polish just does come from, labor and hours of putting things in. Because I think the composition for this is pretty solid. You have, some nice use of storytelling. Everything's kind of, it's fit pretty well. But yeah, it looks, very rough around the edges.
Mm. They might say too, like a lot of I hear very often people say that too, that they didn't have the time to put in the detail. But there's a lot of detail in this image. It's not about the amount of detail. It's where that detail exists and how you're approaching the drawing. And for instance, if you look at the cobblestones, if you look at the crowd, if you look at the shingles on the foreground building, you put a lot. There's a lot of work in there, in not necessarily an area that's going to give you a good payoff. You want that payoff. If you're going to first start focusing your energy, focus it on that area where people are going to be looking first, i.e., that big
build the atmosphere and the general color palette and the mood, and then lay into the focal point.
Yeah.
Because as it stands, this character obviously needs to be a focal point, as well as the huge cloaked figure in the background. And those, in terms of the polish, just feel a little bit underbaked.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of the temperature now, I know you're obviously going for a very kind of even coldish type of dreary, very overcast look, which is honestly one of the harder lighting scenarios to pull off, because everything is often very lit or lit very evenly,
Right.
and it's harder to direct the viewer's eye without using real kind of strong areas of contrast, which is something you don't get in overcast.
Right.
But on that note, I think if you go back and you put this feels a little too warm in general for the scene. Like, that should be a cool white. If we color pick it, see it's a bit warmer. That'd be probably something around like that. It's the sky color we'll be picking up on this white fabric.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with some of these other colors. Right, Adam? Do you agree? These all feel way too warm if we look at some of these overcast reference photos.
Yeah, I'm also looking just in terms of how you use your warm and cool tones. This foreground area, which would include the buildings over on the right, the structure, and the building over on the left, and the cobblestone road, those would be kind of the mid to foreground, versus the background, which would be the building behind the structure and the sky. Notice how those blue horses, whether they be celestial horses or not, it's almost exactly the same hue and value and temperature as that sky, which creates a bit of a jarring what's in the foreground, what's in the background.
There's a depth issue.
Yeah.
With the amount of detail and color temperature. But overall, I think the storytelling in it is great, and I love the design.
A very original twist on the whole concept, which I think is really cool. Absolutely. Nice work.
Yeah.
Who was that, by the way? Who's the artist?
Knite.
Knite. Nice.
Yep, a seasoned veteran in the community.
Yes. And
All
this
right,
is
so this is
Yeva.
Yeva, and I'm not even going to go for that.
Yeah, that's pretty fancy.
All right, so environment concept, big blocky shapes. All right. We're just going to stum down here to the meat and potatoes.
Check out that line art. Holy smokes.
That line art's fantastic, by the way.
Not too very definitely
I
a
love that.
classically trained animator type of style.
Yeah, like
resolution's really low though, so
yeah,
we're not.
I think it's because your sheet is so big.
Yeah,
And I know we always emphasize putting some of your work in, but definitely always make sure that this is the first and foremost most important thing, that's high enough resolution, and then whatever room you have maybe on the side or underneath it, then maybe tack on your sketches.
yeah. But look at how. Okay, well, I'll mention something right out of the bat. And this is just actually more of a because narratively speaking, you very clean, very well composed, excellent composition, very good read. But there was an issue, a mistake made in a subtle one, but worth noting, mistake in your composition in the line art that translated directly into the color version, and that's the tangent. With the hand and the pillar.
Right here.
This beam on the ceiling.
So
the hand runs right into that pillar. You wouldn't want that to happen, so make sure you either have a good overlap or you keep a distance between those two objects. Yeah, you'd want to move that over, right?
Yeah, in this case, just take it out.
It's heartbreak. Yeah,
and then take this out even. Just simplify it.
There you go. See, problem solved. Because that really is. It's just an unnecessary eyesore to an otherwise beautiful piece of artwork here. And colored by hand by the looks of it. It looks like pencils or watercolor pencils. Really nicely done. Haven't seen that before.
No, not for the challenge. Anyway, I think your idea is really good. Your storytelling is really good. Your composition, tangent aside, is really good. And your idea for your lighting is really good. This just feels like Adam just said, almost like just watercolor quickly thrown over some line art, which is very kind of... There's a certain amount of distance there between that and like a final presentation. Because things are just getting muddy and everything gets completely lost.
You know what it is? It's this. My mother used to bug me about this all the time when I was doing my coloring book. She goes, always fill in your drawing. Fill in your shapes. Don't quickly drawn in affects the quality of the finished product. So if you're going to use traditional tools to do it, make sure you're being nice and clean with your execution of it. This looks like a little bit of watercolor in there too. I'd say the other thing is you'd want that character to pop forward, especially with those nice warm tones. You'd want to keep the composition as the red of the pit, the kind of kalima pit thing, and the red carpet leading to the pillar in the back. Those red pillars, I wouldn't make them red.
On the side here.
It's really it's fragmenting your image in a very awkward way. I would just leave those maybe as an off reddish blue and blend them into the background more. Yeah.
Next time I'd say you could cut out some of your really preliminary stuff. It'd be more valuable, at least for us, to attach a few of your actual references, your mood references, these sort of things, so we can see where you're drawing this upon. Because if you didn't get reference and you made this out of your head, chances are the final product's going to look like you made it out of your head. We tend to convince ourselves sometimes we know more than we actually do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I got to say, man, some serious drawing skills here. Very nicely done, Yeva. Wow.
Vincent Williams the second.
Ooh, look at this. Nicely done. Huh.
Yeah, and you know what though, that this I like the comp. I think it's stronger of a read than this because there was obviously I think we're going to touch upon the saturation throughout it is a bit intense, and there's also just like a nice play of that contrast with the clouds behind the character that we're losing here.
Yeah.
Like it really makes it bold.
Yeah, we get a beautiful read, and that's just about the saturation. I think it reads as a heavy saturated image because we've got the heavy saturation on our character and the background. But exactly, Tyler's doing it right now. Just washing out the color of the background.
Make the shape pop.
It'll give the saturation of your character more purpose and a better read at the same time. It won't feel like everything's got the same intensity.
I don't know if this was the issue last month as well, but if saturation's your deal, at the very end, even without a doubt, just take it down, lower the saturation, even going into levels, lower the actual overall lighting of things, to some degree, and then you can start to push and tone things a little bit more directly, adding blues in or figuring out how much purple you want to add in. Then, if you make a layer mask, whatever, on your image, and you invert it, or actually you can go like this, then you could select, like, okay, if this character is our most important thing, you can select, obviously, where the important areas are like that, and since we're on a mask and can work non-destructively right now, we could just take like an airbrush, and this is the quick, dirty way, is you can just rookie move. So then you can kind of pick where the saturation and that color is going to happen.
Yeah.
Add a little bit of glow to your power weapons if that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But it gives you full control over the scene, rather than just blasting everybody in the face with all the saturation. See, if you color pick most of it, I'm sure most of it's pretty far on this side of the color palette when you want most of them to be mid to lower.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the design is great. I think the character looks awesome.
Yeah.
And it looks like this guy can throw a fiesta.
Oh, I mean, this is lovely art. It
really is.
Art. Yeah. It's just, it's taking a little bit, remembering that saturation is a decision that is an eye grab. It pushes the narrative. You don't want to, like they say, if you make everything important, you're making nothing important. And saturation is an importance. Look at it that way, right? So you want to make sure that importance draws your eye to where the payoff is, right? Mm-hmm.
But I love the mood. I love the atmosphere. I love the design.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just watch your colors.
Watch your colors.
Watch your colors. All right. Cornelia.
That is just the best name in the world, Cornelia.
Oh, look at this devious
yeah, no shit.
Plot really happening cool. Here. Really cool. I'm looking at all the storytelling. Oh, he's going to kill a king. You could see the little details.
You actually painted the one on the bottom as well? Because I'm seeing two paintings here. Or that's just a reference, I guess.
I think a reference. So you can see the crown on the doll.
Okay.
The voodoo.
Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Yeah. Okay.
A little bit of a looser interpretation of the Master of Ceremonies, but it's more of like just a nice
murdering the Master of Ceremonies. Yeah.
Like okay. But you have the right idea with your details and stuff.
Yeah, the visual storytelling is top notch visual storytelling. I absolutely love it. The character, you have what's happening.
The lighting is really nice.
Yeah, the clarity is missing a little bit, and I think might be what do you think, Tyler? A contrast issue? Just drawing the eye to this dagger and because I didn't even see the puppet in his hand at the beginning. I didn't catch that detail. So
yeah. It could get toned down a little bit, but I don't know. It's hard not to overforce this whole moment, which it can be easy to do in this case. So it's kind of walking this delicate little line.
Look up on the top right. You see how they has him more or less in the shadow with the shot of light hitting off of his shirt.
Yeah.
See how that would be take that same example and bring that into this image to have the light hitting off of his shirt to draw your attention to that. Draw your attention to and highlight that puppet in his hand. Having some of that reflected light hit the bottom of his face as well. I think that you're missing that.
Use the bounce light. 100%.
Yeah.
You can always go through and just take the cooler areas and then just slightly hit some of the edges.
Yep.
A little bit just to kind of warm up that light kind of hitting them. You got the shadow. And the same can be done with... it's kind of... They're already doing that. It's just not quite as obvious. So you maybe want to cool some of these top planes, like over here. And then you could light up all this stuff. But yeah, I think just maybe like getting a little bit... It's a very soft painting. Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but maybe getting some harder, refined edges with specular lighting in some of the other areas, you can call attention to like these glimmering type of jewels and the voodoo doll itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The perspective here is also slightly questionable. The way the chair looks and stuff, a little awkward. Mm-hmm. But it's not a bad piece by any stretch.
No. There's a lot of qualities in this piece that are noteworthy. I mean. Yeah, and I think just in terms of visual storytelling, you have a particular sense of clarity. There's a particular clarity to your work that I'm really enjoying.
Yeah.
This is entertaining. This is very entertaining to look at.
Yeah, there was not any point when, looking at your work that we kind of questioned anything that was happening in it. And that's a good sign in itself.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, wow. Look at this.
Now this
This almost has a Mad Magazine feel to it.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow. Okay. You know what this is actually? It's like Mad Magazine / Lemony Snicket intro. I love that. And
Hmm.
I'm the original, not the new one. Blech.
So this character is going through some kind of gate, or is at
Yeah.
some gate. See, this is what I'm talking about. There's due to the almost surrealness of this. There's a lot to interpret and to kind of learn about this.
Yeah. There's a surrealness, and I'll say it as well. I mean, I don't know if this is your intention, but and I'm not saying this in a negative way. Just in terms of your theme and your design, there's almost a vulgarity to it, which is kind of neat. Like even the way you did the tentacles up at the top almost look like butt cheeks, and there's that kind of rawness to it that I think is really awesome. I'm confused on where the word ceremony comes into this though.
Hmm.
It's definitely a beautiful abstract image, but remember that there was a theme, and I'm wondering if you're losing sight of that theme a little bit through your creative exploration, right?
There is also a value structure, problem. There really isn't one. I'm doing all this to illustrate that. So if we copy paste everything and we shrink it down to the size of your two mood references, right? Very, very tiny, and I'm going to blow all of them up together. But so if we put that right next to the other ones, and we look at them, there's most evidently in this one, but there's a lack of that contrast and that grouping of values. Even in this one, which you reference for color, we can clearly make out everything that's happening in it. And in terms of the depth in this space, this is where things, are falling apart. There's a lack of background in the image. There's a lack of the foreground elements sticking out, and that just means you got to group your values.
Yeah. Yeah, and think in terms of death. Sorry, that's just from looking at your image. But think in terms of depth, right? Foreground, midground, background, and see how you can play with your values so that you have a very distinct jump in value between one level and the other, so you can get that full sense of depth, and it also helps clarify things a lot.
Everything in the shadow, you can remove the details, and if your character is the most important thing, like right in here, right around these areas, you can light them up and add a lot of that contrast. And that will really help it sing. Because remember, at the end of the day, when we're making our art galleries or putting them online, we're still going to be a thumbnail on somebody else's page. And if we can't entice the viewer at a thumbnail size, they're never going to click on it. They'll never go to your gallery. And we have to make really bold, powerful images that are like this big.
Yeah. Yeah. But, remember, this industry calls for that. You need to make yourself noticed in this big haystack called the online community, right? So that's how you make.
It's more competitive now than ever.
Yeah. And is this John Sims? Who's this here?
Look like I know it looks like John.
Yeah, it looks like one of his paintings. Yeah, this is nice. Look at the very traditional painting style here. I like this. I like all the design.
Yeah, very good use. See, this is a perfect use of contrast and light. Like they're without a doubt, we surround the focal point by the darkest value in the image and add the lightest right in there. And even though it's a face and we gravitate as humans looking at faces, it's still without it. There's no question about it. Like he is the centerpiece of this.
Yep.
Look at it. We're on this streak with really dark interpretations of the Master of Ceremonies.
But I mean, it's there. Yeah, absolutely. Well, the artists are very often dark people. I hate to say it.
I was thinking the most grandest spectacle of things with jesters and people dancing and some guys throwing big fantasy and sci-fi parties, and these are all like people plotting to kill people.
And Tyler's like, it is clearly about afterbirth. I mean, look, you don't see that, I don't know where that's coming from.
I like how you included your thumbnails for the characters, the perfect way to design characters, and
that's beautiful.
Figured out some of the details, and then this is a perfect way of working. Yeah,
and even how you've kind of contrasted the king kind of being self-absorbed, Trump, and the background, the people in the background who he's kind of, it's almost suggesting, subliminal, like consciously or not consciously, suggesting he's got his back turned to society, so to speak. He's got people in the background.
There is a steeper narrative to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's something, and very simplistic. You got right up and close and personal to the subject.
There's some beautiful in the subtleties of this. I would I think your face is pretty much perfectly rendered, but I think even then it fades like too much into and the impressionistic type of stuff. Like you'd want some bolder edges in there, maybe in this and in the hand for sure, because it's the closest thing to us. A little bit more detail up in the arm, and like just polish those edges off just a little bit. But the rest of it, fantastic, I'd say. Works for me.
Yeah, particularly the things that emphasize his vanity, i.e., crown, scepter, right? Get a nice, strong, sharp reflection off of that crown to show that that's to the king. He's set the stage to show off that part of himself. If you look at Sargent's work, very often pay attention to how Sargent would emphasize the qualities of his models. Pay attention to that, where he would sharpen and emphasize those, and very cleverly hide the features that that particular individual might be self-conscious about. Right? Think about the ego. Think about think about the ego of your character and how that might reflect in the art as well. That's something worth paying attention to.
If you take like this really dab and dreary red, and you add just a little bit of a punch to it, like on the red cape and stuff, like, and maybe not so much like that, but like a little bit of that, actual like deep red to it. You can get a lot of mileage out of that. It'll look really, really nice. I do it in a more non-destructive way like this. I'm just working on your layer. But if I'm thinking if we have some kind of direct light coming in, hitting the guy, the ruler here, then you'd see some nice. I gotta shut the brush mode off. You'd see some nice deeper range of colors kind of in here, and it'll absolutely make this look really strong.
And it balances everything. Just that one extreme of color will balance the whole piece. Look at that.
But great job.
Yeah, really enjoyed that. All right. Who do we got next? Is this
Jessica?
This thumb really grabbed my attention from a distance.
Oh,
here.
She spent a lot of time on this. Weeks. She's been working on it. Look at the details of this, Adam. Check this out. I'm thinking
Polish. That's like the Polish spelling.
Yeah.
Jessica. Yeah, I mean, and you know what's funny? I'm just going to mention it because Tyler and I have been talking about Witcher lately. My family, my mother's side of my family is Polish, and we were talking about the beautiful artistry coming from Witcher 3, which is of course from Poland, from CD Projekt Red, and I've been just taking a liking to Polish artists lately. And of course, you're probably from New Zealand, but and this is pointless. But this definitely has that same kind of. She
lives in the States now.
She does. Okay. Do you know where she's originally from?
I don't know.
Okay. It just it has that.
We've only been Facebook friends for a week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. But no, it's definitely standing out to me to have that kind of a quality, that unique kind of quality that I find really lovely. Absolutely.
I think the references are really spot on. And the lighting has improved tremendously in this sense. Some of the earlier versions of this I've seen.
Yeah.
I'd almost even toy with the idea, because this is just in my natural nature of things, to pushing some of the saturation in a few of these areas, like a little bit more of that vividness. And unless you're going for this really kind of stark or bleak type of lighting, then absolutely what you did is fine. But I just have to see for myself, like just pushing a little bit more of these greens out and see if that helps or not.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah. For a painting with this level of complexity in terms of color, even though it's not if you're not talking about like a triadic color scheme or anything like that, but just with that level of detail, having a little bit of just that little spark of color somewhere can balance the whole piece. It can take it from being something that's already pretty to being spectacular.
Yeah,
it's got that eye grab. Right?
Didn't really that adjustment didn't really change anything. I'd have to go in if you have dappled lighting and it's actually hitting some of the leaves, let's say down there for instance, then you could actually go just grab a little less blue, a little bit more of that green, kind of get it in there. But yeah, you don't want it to compete obviously with your character statement at all.
No,
but yeah, I think it's a great piece. Maybe even toning down some of this dappled lighting a little bit, because I like the value structure in this one a lot in terms of its simplicity. So maybe even cutting back a little bit of this, just a little bit, and adding like a warmer tone underneath some of these branches for that bounce light, for the light hitting these, I think will really kind of help this.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Playing with bounce light in this kind of in the context of this type of a piece would be spectacular.
So like
Yeah,
really warming up underneath there, and
yeah, look at
then
that.
you can transition that to these cooler kind of tones and ochres and stuff like
Yeah,
up
yeah,
on top.
yeah.
I think will
That's
be,
exciting. Look at that.
but yeah,
Hmm.
really good overall. Like the details insane,
Yeah,
and the storytelling. Like this is a really unique take on this, and really innocent as well. I like it.
yeah. I would love to see that kind of art in a children's book illustration. Like that kind of stuff. I mean, this I would buy a book immediately for my kids if it had this type of art on it for sure.
Hmm.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah, really great job.
Yeah.
Almost, I don't know if it would have been better to have like the whole crop thing, like if we took the canvas and actually like extended it more, this way, and then
Yeah.
cut it off like here, and then just position the birds a little bit differently. That way, it looks like in this, due to the design, it looks like she's stepping kind of out of the canvas.
Mhm.
When I think it would be a little bit more powerful if she's stepping into it, and all the birds are kind of waiting for her.
Well, yeah, it's funny. It's funny I didn't mention that before. When you think about the canvas, if you have your image, if I'm going to turn my head this way, I'm not going to put my face against the side of the page unless I've got something coming in from the back. I'm normally going to lean my eyes towards the middle, not towards the edge. Right? Little piece of advice.
Toby Fox.
Oh, of course, Toby.
Oh wow, look at this detail.
Toby and his lovely work. Yes, we all love him so
Yeah,
much.
he's figuring out value structure. Heck
Yeah. Yeah. Now you got this beautiful archway idea. I really like that. And then you ended up going with more of a gradient type of background. Look at that.
Really, really bold stuff though. Well, nice
Is
details.
there Rembrandt in there? Huh.
Yeah, that's what I think about.
Okay. Well, there was you nailed something in a couple of your thumbnails that I feel that you I'm a big fan of Toby's work. He knows that I love his work. But there's a little something that I found. You made a decision in the end, which I would have taken a different decision based on your thumbs, and that's the grayish background with the soft white hair. One of the selling points of this painting is the very fair vampiric type of skin tone he's got. And when you had that white tone, let's say if you look at for instance, the second thumbnail up on the top, the second one from the right.
This one? Oh, this one.
Yeah, that one. The pale skin against a darker background. To get that stark contrast to make him feel paler, to help make his skin feel a little bit more luminous and translucent, right? Mm-hmm. I would have gone in that direction to create a clearer contrast, because that there's a bit of an ambiguity between the values of the background and the hair.
I think I did too much.
I think that would make a big difference. I would darken that background for sure, especially around the face and hair.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take take that light that's back there, knock it down with like some blue, right? I think we're working with like a blue or a green, whatever this color is. You just put it on darken, and kind of bring it in.
Yeah.
Now the head is popping, and then you can copy the whole thing again if you wanted to pull out some of the coolness of this actual kind of crazy look. Experiment with some of the layer modes, and you can give it a little bit of that crazy, airy, creepy vampire type of glow, which just takes some trial and error and some layer experimenting. Everyone's kind of toying with it these days. And
too, if you look at, for instance, what's his name again? What's his name? I call him one of the most perfect-looking male specimens on Earth. Luke Goss, the guy who played in Hellboy 2 as the prince, Prince Nuada, I think. If you look at how Guillermo del Toro plays with the fairness of the skin, because he's wearing makeup, but also how he'll have that character walk into the light and create this nice. You really want to sell the idea of him being non-human to a certain degree, right?
That's what we want to push.
And that's all a play with light. Don't be shy to have a shot of light hitting across that face and draw your attention to those eyes, catching the light inside the eyes to bring out the pink of his irises, so to speak. Those are all really strong selling points of a design that you want to see. And I can see where you wanted to go with it. You just needed to push it that 5% further, and it would have turned on the magic, right?
A little bit of that green. Good thing you can talk, Adam, because I'm having trouble talking and finding my brushes today. But yeah, I think I brought I think I accidentally erased the other part to come back. But yeah, but that's the trick, is to give it a little bit of that grain, and to really play with this sense of that sense of light, kind of coming in, and I just put textures around things. I experiment by putting them on different modes, and then often going to blur it a little bit to soften that can really do wonders for that. Did I do surface blur? I meant to do Gaussian blur. But yeah, you tone it down, and then you can go back. And it's so fun because they're on different layers, and then you can erase, obviously, where you don't want, and then you can really play with the idea of light, delicate lighting hitting, some of these surfaces.
Yeah. Do you see how what Tyler is doing right now is bringing out the quality of your idea? The idea is there. It was just those little bit of hints that are making us as the viewer to be able to really appreciate what you created, right? So it's just little hints like that make a huge difference.
Really great stuff, Toby.
Yeah.
I lost track of time.
I would be redundant if I was to say that I loved his work. What can I tell you?
All right,
I'm not going to flatter him that much. He gets too much flattery from me.
I'm not sure what the story is with this. I checked your original post. I didn't see any comments. There is a bit of a disconnect between this and your original idea posted here. Yeah. Which I can see traces of the actual the job, the Master of Ceremonies. He's obviously doing some kind of ritual revival ceremony, like Master of Life or Death. I can see that in here. But Adam, how about you? I'm not seeing the transition.
Well, no, I don't know if the original idea was written. Do we have a name for this artist, or?
Yeah, I think it was in the file type. Ahmed.
Ahmed. Okay, Ahmed. Well, you have the original idea. If you sketch that idea yourself, I mean, it's all there, right? That in and of itself is a very successful starting point, a very successful sketch. But then we jumped from that to this, and then we got a guy. I guess it was just for the silhouette. Somebody fixing the. But then the arrow shooting through the window. That to me, I don't get the finish one, but I totally get the sketch. Right, so
yeah, I don't know what happened. Next time, if you're going that far off the track, let us know. We can't afford to waste or spend a lot of time talking about things that are just overshooting or not even nailing, the target on something like that.
Yeah, but
stick to the narrative.
Just go with the sketch, and the sketch is you were going in the right direction. I would be curious to see how you'd push that particular idea from the sketch to the finish.
So this one I've seen pop up. I'm sorry that the name wasn't on the file type.
That's okay.
But we'll get you some feedback. I think this is going in a really solid direction. This is really unique. There's a strong sense of space, lighting. I think there's a deep, rich type of narrative you have brewing here. And I think this was another one where they wanted to spend more time and didn't get to.
I would say compositionally, I would extend the canvas down on the bottom more, so you're not cutting off the bottom. You're not cutting everybody's butt off.
It's just when it's consistently a line of butts that get trimmed like that, it creates a bit of awkwardness.
It looks like an awkward cropping.
Bring it down like that.
Yeah.
Because if you enable the crop tool as well, this is cool. You can see it puts the rule of thirds grid up on your photo. Or you're painting, so you can if this guy's the most important, yes, I can trim a little fat off the side. See, we lose that tower, but that tower is not adding anything to this moment.
No.
And I did this a lot with my own paintings, and see if we actually trim a little off here, we're gonna get this guy right into view over here like this.
There you go.
Something like that. And now it's bringing us in, it's narrowing the focus, it's making it a more intimate piece, and it's increasing the storytelling.
Yeah, you got to think especially I can see from the way you've animated that guy who's kind of the one doing the chanting, the one communicating with everybody else, that he's somebody who's acting. You'd want to turn your camera on that character. So would it be logical for you to to have somebody acting, but then frame them like that? No, you want to make sure all of their actions caught within the frame. So remember not to do that.
I'd make him a little bit bigger too, or a
Yeah.
little bit higher.
Yeah. Yeah. He's kind of getting crushed under this big scene, right?
The other thing for me that's distracting is the is this element here.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that, Adam?
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? I don't know. Well, the warm tone grabs you.
Yeah, and it's right in the middle.
And it's framed between the two cliff sides. But is it contributing anything to the scene? Well, I don't know, because from what we can see, it's just a bird. It's just kind of like a bird figure or something.
Personally,
right?
It just distracts me. Because I can't figure out the story connection. So there's a little bit of an issue.
Yeah. If you take that out, your story is going to tell itself right there. But as soon as you throw that bird in, the first thing I saw, because it was centered and it was orange, first thing I saw was the bird. So it took me about 10 seconds to go, oh, okay, I guess there's a character down here. You take that out, and I wouldn't have questioned anything going on in the scene. Yeah.
Other than that, just keep working on your rendering. Clean up some of the things. But the idea is blocked in pretty well.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah, very nicely done.
Just keep getting your references. Don't lose sight of them. And look for, of course, continue to look ways to either. You could probably, if you want to push these really far in the background, one last quick note is, you select all the stuff back there. So everything that's on these cliffs, which if they're as far as, they look in the image, you'd want to adjust those with levels, taking some of those contrast out of it, lowering that a little bit, going and injecting a little of that blue atmosphere into them. And then you could warm up the bottom, because the light's going to be hitting this grassy plain, and it's going to be warming up underneath them. But this really helps just add. We're taking all those dark colors that were there, and we're adding that atmosphere color into the shadows, which is what happens in real life. And then you could just take your little section back there, and you bring it back. It can be as bright as you want it. So yeah, just keep working on the contrast adjustments for the depth of field.
All right,
Patrick
Borkstrom.
He's back, and he's getting better.
And there, look at that. This is a very good. Just as far as fantasy illustration is concerned, this doesn't necessarily apply to any walk of any type of art, but just in terms of using specularity and that punch of color in the right place. Look at how we immediately knew where the story was happening, right up there in the face of this.
And it's not overstaying its welcome in terms of getting our attention.
Yep. Because we have an overall mostly cooler tone background with this warm hit of this nice, beautiful brass gold color. Right?
I think this is a step in the right direction for Patrick. He's really finding his style. Well, he knows it, and he's mastering it. Yep. And he's getting so much better with materials. Because that was always something I noticed with his work, is there when it came to like his skin and his flesh tones, and when that would transition to the clothing and other things, he was struggling with materials, and he's really getting a hold of that now. I can see.
I'd say from here, the real thing that sticks out, the part where I look, the part that made me cringe a little bit were the arms, and that's an anatomy thing. So it's worth taking a class or two or doing some homework on your anatomy to know what kind of.
This one right here looks particularly suspect to me.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it, and there's muscles in those. Some of those shapes would make sense if you had sleeves, but he doesn't. If he had sleeves like this. But there's muscles there that don't actually exist on the human arm, which of course you wouldn't know unless you looked it up. But definitely reference your anatomy when you're doing stuff like that. And also, I would say it's worth actually, even if it's just for the arms, to get a pose. But take a picture of yourself or try to find a picture of somebody like that, because you'll be able to see the angle. Because the angle is in an awkward. That arm is actually bent in a very.
I'd say he could even afford to go a little bit bigger on the arms too. Just like make them a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Just because, like, when you have like a big buff dude like this, you can accentuate that, playing into his archetype by making the arm bigger and the head being a little bit smaller. Whereas if we have children and child characters, we make the heads bigger to pull that off. And the hand is always like almost as big as the entire face. But yeah, I think it's great. I really like your piece, Patrick. Sorry, I have a phone call and I don't know Where it's from, it's probably important.
When it's an unknown number, it's probably important.
It's from around town. It's probably the electrician. I've been calling to try to hang some lights up in my bar.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So after I'm done painting for the day, I can go drink.
Yeah. When your bar's finished, you got to give me a shout. I'll head down to the States and we'll have a drink together.
Anton again. Look at Anton.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Now that's some reference lighting.
It's a beautiful piece of work in front of me here. This is gorgeous. I mean, come on. Really?
Yeah, this is really dark.
Yeah.
It's almost... All right, I think... Adam, just start talking about the guy. I'm going to try to do a quick fix on the background.
Well,
we're going to double team this.
Flip the image horizontal for a sec.
All right.
Give your canvas a little flip here. Okay. Yeah. Well, the first thing that popped up is you just needed a little flip because the hair is a little bit off. It's kind of fitting over his head, and it's almost as if his hair was a toupee, and he was a little bit shifted over to the left. Well, anatomically, I think as far as just the connection between his torso, at least the naked part of his torso and his arm, you can see that it's just a glob. We're not seeing how one part of his body overlaps. There's a bit of an anatomical issue there. So if you actually did a sketch over and tried to find the line drawing underneath this pose, taking out the clothes, you'd probably notice that this arm was a bit low, right? You'd have to look through that a little bit. So there's a little bit off in the hand too. I can see just the foreshortening with the hand, your ellipses. You've got the hand looks. You've given him little stumpy little Trump hands. It's funny. It's true.
Control yourself.
Sorry,
I don't like the guy either, but politics is no place on this channel.
I know. I'm just trying to have fun. Anyways, yeah.
I was thinking, Adam, warming up the background a bit would maybe better for me rather than cooling it off.
Yeah.
Kind of harmonizes it a bit more for me.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of because there's a lot of warm tones on our character already, right? But there's, to me, maybe you can pick it out. I'm having a bit of a hard time picking it out, but I'm feeling like there's a bit of a flatness in the colors between the main character and the goblin that he's soul sucking right now. There's a bit of a flatness in the colors, and I'm wondering how we would be able to give a bit of
see, like on the head, you have that nice bold highlight coming down.
Yeah.
And we're not seeing that kind of come through in the foreground. Now, if we just kind of brutally or quickly... Oh, why is this not working? Let me go to linear dodge. That's going to spice things up. Like that. We get some of that actual light.
And the forearm, too.
Yeah, on the arm.
Should be bent as well, yeah.
And then get some hard edges in there. Even if he has really big biceps, like you could even have his bicep cast like a little cast shadow on the forearm and stuff, so his light's coming in. But it seems like maybe like that green is almost picking up from that a little bit too much, and maybe just injecting this guy with a lot of the magenta. Let's just look in this little area. We'll kind of fix him up.
Yeah.
No, not right there. I'll go to color balance.
It also looks to me like it's possible that he...
Yeah, see, like a little more of that color.
Right now? I'm getting a lot of audio feedback right now. I don't know if you are.
I have, sorry, it's my oil, my oil heater kicked in.
Okay. Yeah, no, it definitely looks like you image referenced the face, but I'm not so sure about the arm. The hand, yeah. The arm, no.
Yeah,
there seems to be a little bit of an anatomical inconsistency between like the face. The face is an eye grab, so it definitely works there. But the body and stuff, it looks like there might be a bit of a lack of reference there. I'm not sure.
So you could even go and put a lot of this in shadow. I don't know if this is going to work, but you never know until you try. So I'm just going to try this before we stop picking on this piece because it's good. But like if we take, never mind. I'm just going to do it all on here. We simplify a lot of this detail in here, right? And then, so it's kind of dark, and then you add a little bit of this, I think a yellow color behind him, a little bit of that glow, color dodge with some of that yellow, some nice saturated yellow. Like maybe it's coming from some doorway or something back there. Getting this kind of form to pick up, a little bit like that.
Yeah,
may work out. Like if you see like candles in the background and stuff with this lighting kind of happening back there, illuminating, part of the shelf and everything, it could have a cool effect to them if you're playing with the shapes and the silhouettes. But I think it's overall pretty good. You have a lot of detail going in there.
Yeah.
Parts of it though maybe like a little inconsistent with that. Like it's almost like the background was too brushed over a photo, and then I don't know, like the hair looks maybe like too samey. With like you should see broader strokes of the thicker and thinner parts of like the way hair goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's pretty good though. I like it a lot.
Yeah. I think compositionally and that face and your overall design, like just the elements how you designed this piece, really sell it. And it's just, you can see how much Tyler's been tweaking it and stuff like that. It was so good. It's so good that it actually caused us to overlook some rather large.
All right, spit it out. We're out of time.
It caused us to overlook a lot of strong weaknesses in the image that shouldn't have been overlooked. But you can see how strong composition and reference can definitely make a difference in a piece.
It's a powerful piece. Maybe just simplifying some of those shadow areas. And keep pulling some of the shapes out.
Yep.
All right, is there a name here? No, Master of Ceremonies 2.
No, we don't. All right.
Time invested.
We got a face, though.
It's Rodney.
Oh.
This is Rodney.
Yeah. Mr. Husman. Oh, yeah, okay. He wrote it up there on the thing. Okay. All right. So, what's your take on this?
This is cool. I would just play with contrasts in some of those key areas. Just push that, when in doubt, push that contrast.
Yeah. Your values are very mid-tone throughout. You definitely, like, for instance, for this particular type of piece, you'd want to have that strong light coming from the back to highlight the silhouette of your clown, of your jester, and probably you kind of suggested in this piece to have another stronger light lighting up the face of the jester and the back of your character.
If you've had like some
opposing light.
Sickly green tone in here, illuminating all these. Get some references of like the Joker or something for this, where you have the contours like underneath. I'll try color dodge for the heck of it. Why not? But this is the quick and ugly and dirty way to do it. Why is that not? I don't know what's up with it tonight, Adam. Okay, something like this. This would be the best way. Where you see like that light on all the forms that are like, so underneath the cheek, all these areas that you have. Not so much the lip, but like underneath the nose, and then underneath the eyebrows there. You can see all this be illuminated by that green. And it will really help push. And you need to blend it and paint it well, obviously. But see how much now in the portrait there, it's making that face come alive with like I'm getting anxiety just looking at it. And then you could silhouette a lot of the stuff behind the character here, kind of like you were doing. I would just go grab some kind of noise or a grain brush. Let me see. I had one of those, just like I did earlier. Add noise. Yes. We just spackle this in. It should work. We're back. Yeah, my brush was just locking some things up, and then you can go back in and erase. Again, same thing.
Okay, that's what you're doing.
Just make it subtle. But adding a little bit of that green and everything down here, I think would work out pretty well for it. It's a really, really interesting piece, though. And don't forget the side of the jester's hat to give. They're way too flat right now. You'd want to add a little bit of form. I'm not painting with this, Adam. I'm trying to like pick a different brush.
I will want to be there for my 15-year-old's wedding in 15 years. So hopefully we'll get through that.
This is what I'm trying to do. Get that green, and then it on surfaces again with metal and everything.
A little specular highlight there, for sure.
Get that in, and then you'll be in business.
Yeah,
a little bit of like that, and actually I gotta. How they look, you gotta overexpose them, right? Like the little guys, but not with like such an airbrush that it ruins it. Sorry, I saw something
Don't worry
like
about
that.
it. I'm not in any rush here. It's fine.
But yeah, what else would you do to make some things pop at them?
I would. Well, the silhouette. When you remember, you're talking about forms, right? So if you want those forms to pop, remember I would push the lighting behind the Joker, the light coming from
Even more
his shoulders. Yeah, I would definitely boost that up so that we could get a stronger silhouette to show that his dark form is
take
invading
some of these
screen, right?
like these nice blues and purple, something that's analogous to the green and everything, and you just drop in quick little one gradient or whatever, using whatever brush. I'm not using the grain one again for obvious reasons right now. Add a little bit of a light to it, and then you could just go back in and mask out and delete your character.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll do this the easy way, and then see he'll really pop, and you can even bring in some of those blues to like wrap around the form. So what we mean, like it's exactly what's happening up here, right? You could take some of these blues, carry them around the shoulder and the arms if you wanted to hit some of these points like that. Bring in like these blues over here.
Yeah, and I think the last thing I would have done at that point is to have the light hitting our character, the male figure. I would have stronger light hitting off of him so that pops some more, because you don't want
it's a little too close to the reference. You'd want to direct it a little bit more. Like, is it coming from the bottom? Is it coming from the top? It's just straight on him right now as it is in the window, and that's what's making it look not as interesting and dynamic as it probably you want it to.
Think about it. Your composition clearly points all the fingers at that little guy. You want to make sure that little guy is well lit and pops on the image, right? Ooh, what do we got here?
All right, Matt.
This is interesting. Huh.
So you tried to do character design. Oh, okay, really interesting.
Very interesting.
I think if you're, again, if you want to just focus on the actual character design, for your time investment, you can get a lot more mileage if you approach it very much like this. Break it down into simple areas of value to figure out the stronger design areas, and then after you go through all the the designs, then it's worth kind of coloring and then lighting and investing all this other idea into it.
Just for the graphic read. Although I'd say your image does have a beautiful graphic. I love the drama of this fabric. The other thing that pushes here is if you're going to be playing with line like this, is to emphasize the weight. You notice how especially if you look at the drapery on her left arm, it kind of goes a little askew. I wouldn't do that. Have those lines pull nice and heavy, almost like a waterfall coming straight down and falling across. That emphasizes this vertical strength of your piece. That little crooked line takes away from that. It's unsatisfying. So be conscious of how you're using line, because
it seems like you may want to look at some of what Anthony Jones's did in his Heaven and Hell book.
It's a very good example. Yeah,
he's really good in this particular area. But really interesting take on it. I think the design's heading in a strong direction.
Yep.
All right. All right. Here we go. Thumbnails. You're getting a lot better, Lewis, with your color and your value grouping.
Definitely. Narratively,
like your final one isn't there though. We lose the sense of character from the scale.
Yeah.
And if it's about this, if the image is about this, then make it about that.
Yeah.
Because right now, let's look at the. Let me just copy and paste this so we can explain this with a visual. If this is your canvas real estate, right, the whole thing, and this is your focal point. Right now, it's only. I need to get a brush to show this. Right now, it's less than a quarter of your entire image, which essentially is just leaving us with 75% of the canvas that's not adding anything in particular to this scene. There doesn't seem to be a narrative relationship between the beach and what's happening up here. So again, if this is about that moment, you'd want to crop and cut this down so that the canvas is something more like this. So we take that out, we'll take that out, and now if I move this somewhere else, we have a scene that just becomes about this. And then you design the whole scene in itself around that particular moment and story information. I guess I'm trying to talk in pain again, and it's not working.
Think about it too. Like if you, for instance, you have that scene with the water and the cliffs, and it's giving a little bit, it's showing you that just the scale of things is showing you how huge these characters are off in the background. If you had, let's say, a little boy up on that beach, that would give purpose to that beach. Somebody observing this at a distance. But right now, it's just a beach that doesn't particularly have any purpose to it. So
what we choose to put in our paintings is just as important as what we choose to leave out.
Yeah.
And yeah, having the characters, the sense of scale, like right here or whatever, and then if you wanted to really push that whole idea of the beach and foreground elements, and you could have silhouettes of trees kind of coming down here, or bushes, whatever. We still we're making the whole scene now still about these characters witnessing what's ever happening here.
Yeah, there you go.
It changes everything the way you crop an image. Keep going with your stuff though, because your rendering and your lighting is looking better, and I can see you constantly working on those.
Huge jump, yeah, definitely. You've been using your time well. Are we down to the last one already? Holy smokes! All right. What do we got? Tommy. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but another one of those fancy names. All right. Well, we got a lot going on.
Thumbnails, references.
This is. I mean, as far as visual storytelling is concerned and composition, you knocked it out of the park. I mean, we get to the point. We know exactly what we're looking at. Regardless of the complexity, we're not getting lost in the crowd and not knowing what's going on. We know exactly what's going on. Compositionally speaking, fabulous. We even know that as far as this, there's a significance to this lady walking down the stairs because of the saturation of her dress and the way she's isolated in the composition. I think for me, I think Tyler would probably agree. Saturation is a little bit too universal.
Which very evenly, almost like middle of the road too. Like
it's a bit unnatural, so to speak. And I think also the value of that jester being a centerpiece is blending into the background a little bit too much.
Yeah, because
we want some kind of an atmospheric pop so that we fade out things in the background and put more sharpness and crispness in the contrasts on that jester, right?
Because we have. Again, the most saturated thing in the image is this carpet here, and it being red in itself is also very distracting.
Yeah.
And on a more technical side, the way the arm is here with this little scepter thing is also creating a tangent with the edge of the stairway.
Yeah. Same thing with the gestures. One of the bells on the jester's hat that's creating a tangent with the staircase at the top. Do be aware of those things, because subliminally they take away from the experience of enjoying this piece, right?
I think continue to do more referencing, sketches, and studies too, because what happens with this floor and the walls, the beams, and particularly like the windows, and even some of the details of these draperies, they come off as extremely generic. Nothing here looks like it was heavily referenced or harkens back to a certain period in time, history, or even reflects a fantasy setting. It's all okay. Plain blue wall, plain checkered floor, plain banner, plain looking window. You have to add a sense of design and character to every little bit in the image. If you look at some of these references here, these windows are designed. The floor tiles here are a little bit more designed. Like these windows these could be industrial windows, they could be modern windows. They don't kind of fit this fantasy setting that you have here.
Also, if you check out that drapery reference he's got on the bottom right, the red one, the little one over the very bottom right, notice the imperfection in the folds. It's not boom, 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 boom.
Very
boom,
even.
Boom, boom. They're spaced out more unevenly. There's a little bit more of an organic feel to it because of the chaos of those wrinkles versus yours that are it's very repetitive and redundant. You want to avoid that very often, as much as possible at least, just to give it a little bit more of a natural fabric type of feel to it.
And yeah, try to find ways too that you can simplify even some of the crowd and some of the things that are not in the primary focus, like using light and shadow. Yeah. So you did a lot of the right steps. I think when you're at this one and the black and white one, see if you can group and simplify the values further. It'll hold your structure up a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we're back, and we've mutually agreed that Patrick's and Jessica's submissions this month is our favorite.
Yeah, absolutely.
In reality, that means, jack shit. It's just our opinions. It was just happened to be our two favorites, and we kind of agree on that for their execution, their idea how they reflect the theme and the subject matter for the challenge. But we liked them, so they spoke to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I would also make an honorable mention to Chris's piece as well, up on the top right. Just a very, very nicely thought out in the composition. Just lacked a little bit of tightness. It needs to be polished a little bit. But I mean, apart from that, yeah.
I think these are fantastic paintings and illustrations, and you guys did great.
Absolutely beautiful.
So as soon as I figure out the new way to kind of post and get the information up for the next challenge, I'll try to find an efficient way. I know a lot of you have been submitting ideas for that. We'll talk about that as a group, and we'll work that out.
Absolutely.
For the next one.
Tyler, I wanted to kick in because you'd mentioned a couple of weeks ago about there's this new thing on Monday.
No, I just meet with the group on Monday. We do a Google Hangout every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I'm going to try to make it.
There's 8 slots, so I guess the first eight people that can come and make it can do it. I guess in the future, Discord will be adding abilities to share screens and stuff, so maybe we'll move it to that platform down the road when it ups its features. But for now, Google Hangout's working for the few of us, and we painted for we painted 4 to 5 hours straight on Monday night and just hung out.
Okay.
And it was great.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. So it's fun if you all can come and make it. Anybody can do it. First come, first serve.
Awesome.
Anyways, Adam has his mentorship. I have mine. Just go to our respective websites if you're ever interested in that. And we love looking at your work each month. Take care.
Take care.